How do you address new requirements in the middle of a sprint? Scrum is designed to be responsive to last-minute changes. But it inevitably adds stress to the team. With this question you're really asking, what ideas does the candidate have to help a Scrum team manage scope changes? How would they go about integrating those changes into the current sprint? Can they make judgment calls about what can be deprioritized to the next sprint? Good Scrum Masters are happy to make their case to higher-ups about not having the bandwidth to take on more than is reasonable. The team needs to know their Scrum Master is willing to go to bat for them, and can reorient them to new challenges, or help them turn challenges into opportunities to improve. Shielding the team's productivity from change is critical. You'll know this candidate is capable if you get a hint of their openness, flexibility, and ability to coordinate different stakeholders. Your team's velocity drops over the course of several sprints. What should you do? This is a situation where senior management looks to the Scrum Master for answers. Scrum Master must be prepared for this situation. Velocity is a measure of the Scrum team's capacity to complete work during a sprint. It's a vanity metric, total story points completed divided by number of sprints, so there are limits to what it can tell you. For example, velocity drop doesn't always indicate a decrease in productivity. Velocity could fall in scenarios like choosing to fix bugs as they come up rather than take on technical debt. But maybe the drop isn't for good reasons. If it is a productivity issue, where are the sticking points? The Scrum Master doesn't need to have the answer, but they have to be good at enabling the team to find it. You're asking this question to make sure the candidate understands that, and to learn the steps they would take to identify areas for improvement. Why might your team be constantly failing to meet committed deadlines, and its velocity is unstable? There are many reasons a Scrum Master could investigate. People are joining and leaving the team too often. There isn't a good distribution of junior and senior people and the team is imbalanced. Definition of ready is not met for user stories and thus the estimates are off. The team is working on undocumented legacy code. Stakeholders are constantly intervening the process of the team. Technical debt and poorly written code. Your product owner has pushed to include in the upcoming sprint a user story, which does not have the final designs yet. The design team promises to deliver them on the second day of the sprint. How do you react? The user story obviously does not meet the definition of ready and could be refused by the team. However, Agile promotes people over process and thus other factors should be evaluated as well. Has the design team consistently met their deadlines in similar situations? Is there evidence that this user story of very high value to the client? In these circumstances, the team could make an exception and accept the story. However, it is important for the Scrum Master to have a talk with the product owner and make sure that such exceptions do not become the rule. Definition of ready is a valuable technique and ignoring it can derail the Scrum team's efficiency and increase the risk of delays. A product owner assigns user stories to specific team members. How do you react? The Scrum Master relationship with the product owner is very important as it balances the need to deliver product updates as fast as possible and the need to maintain an efficient team. The goal of the Scrum Master to explain to the product owner why such actions upset this balance. By assigning user stories to specific team members, the product owner implicitly claims that they know better than the team who is the best person for the job. This is rarely true as the product owner is not working directly with the team all day and does not have the intimate knowledge of the internal workings of the team. Also, such actions can undercut the motivation of the team as Scrum teams are expected to be self-organizing. What would you do when the team doesn't like your ideas and instead suggests new ones? A great behavioral question actually. A reasonable thing to do would be to ask for a cogent explanation from your team to back up their ideas. If their explanation makes sense, and the whole team is backing it up, maybe you should replace your old idea with the new one your team suggests. Otherwise, explain to the team why their suggestions aren't as good as yours and gently tell them that changes won't be initiated. What are the burn up and burn down charts in Scrum? Burn up and burn down charts are used to trace the progress of the project. The burn up chart illustrates the amount of work completed, while the burn down chart illustrates the amount of work that remained to complete a project. Remember that the efforts are measured in terms of user stories and not hours. How can you assure that the user stories meet the requirements? A good user story comprises a description as well as set acceptance criteria. It should be a piece that can be completed in a sprint and has the fewest dependencies possible. Within the sprint's constraints, the team should be able to build and test while also delivering estimations. In a nutshell, the INVEST principle is followed by good user stories. I stands for independent. The user story should be such that the team members are less reliant on others. N stands for negotiable. It should describe the functionality and is subject to agreement between the team and the product owner. V stands for valuable. It should add value to the customer's experience. E stands for estimable. It should be such that the time requirement can be approximately estimated. S stands for small. It should be small enough so that the team can complete it in a sprint. T stands for testable. It should have good acceptance criteria. During backlog refinement or sprint preparation, the Scrum Master can assist the team in producing good user stories so that they can be picked up for the commitment. How QA can add value to an agile team. QA can provide value addition by thinking differently about the various scenarios to test a story. They can provide quick feedback to the developers whether the new functionality is working fine or not. QA is not a separate silo but is part of a cross-functional project team. It is included in the project from the beginning, and the whole team works together on user stories using the same tracking tools. The director of the QA team works closely with the executive management team to identify technology and staffing needs in relation to project pipelines. Quality assurance is empowered to support projects and add value in whatever way the situation requires. Examples include design reviews, requirements assessments, browser and device support, process, tools, risk assessments, and helping to determine definition of ready and definition of done. QA sits with the project team whenever possible, allowing for increased conversation and problem solving in real time. The QA team attends and contributes to all relevant planning meetings and sprint ceremonies and also work directly with clients on quality and testing processes. Members of QA teams always learn as individuals, as project team members, and as representatives of a skilled discipline within the organization. Our process and approach to testing evolve to keep up with advances in technology and the changing needs of clients. What works for one client or project might differ radically from another. Flexibility is the key. As a Scrum Master, how do you ensure that the transparency, inspection and adaptation Scrum pillars are being implemented by the team? Scrum prescribes 4 formal events for inspection and adaptation, as described in the Scrum Events section of the Scrum Guide. As a Scrum Master, you should attend the events and ensure the team is following the transparency, inspect and adapt processes, sprint planning. Inspect the average team velocity over the previous 3 or 4 sprints, ensure that the velocities have been transparent to the team and ensure that the team adapt the velocity to be used for planning the sprint. Inspect the product backlog, PB, and ensure that it is up to date, that it is transparent to all stakeholders and that the team adapts the PBI estimates if necessary. Daily Scrum. Inspect the team board and adapt the plan for the next day, ensuring changes are transparent to all the team. Inspect the impediments board and adapt plans to resolve impediments if necessary. Sprint review. Inspect the increment and adapt the product backlog if necessary, making sure that any changes are transparent to all stakeholders. Inspect the release plan and adapt it if necessary, making sure that any changes are transparent to all stakeholders. Sprint retrospective. Inspect the process that has been followed and make plans to adapt the process if necessary, making sure that any changes are transparent to all team members.